What's good, YouTube? It's your main man, AB the Hero, back again with another video. Golly, that hurt. Today we're gonna watch this clip. It's Lamar Jackson, Bron James, Maverick Carter, Childish Gambino, a bunch of folks, and this is the LeBron shop. And this is a conversation where there's one really important piece that I want to address, but they have such good conversations that just cover so many topics and find themselves a way to just loop back in to each other in such a seamless way that we're just gonna watch this video and then we'll get to the things we got to get to once we get to them.
AB the Hero, back at it, baby.
Appreciate every one of y'all for slamming the like button. We had about 20,000 subscribers, on our way to 21, on our way to the 30K mark. Let's get into it. All right, so like I said, this is the shop. LeBron show. I felt like it was on HBO before, but now I don't think it is. It's on Undisputed or Uninterrupted, their network and all of that jazz. But really poignant conversation, right? And I even got some stories and things that I want to add to this, so let's just get into it.
Weight room, and then when I leave the weight room, I gotta calm down, and that's when I'm listening to like more like old school jazz or
R&B or
well,
something.
I listen to a lot of like Beethoven and shit too.
Oh yeah, like
Yeah,
classical.
like classical music too.
People underrate Beethoven can really turn you up,
I
put
listen
you
to
in
a
the
lot
right
of
place.
classical.
LeBron sound like a nigga who don't listen to Beethoven. You know, I listen to a lot of that Beethoven stuff too. You know what I'm saying? I just go onto my iPod and I hit search, you know, classical, and then they play whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I listen to
Music,
it.
like when I'm just trying to, and then like probably about 45 minutes, hour before the game started, that's when I start ramping it back up.
What's your routine, Lamar?
So this is interesting. So basically they're talking about their pre-game rituals, right? So LeBron said that he get to the stadium about 5 hours before, hit the weight room, listen to DMX and all of this stuff, play some classical, some jazz, and then, you know, relax, then ramp back up before the game. Lamar about to give his.
Well, Hollywood come get me before every game.
Oh, you ride the game every game?
Me and Hollywood ride together ever since he been in the league. We go to the game.
How early y'all get there?
I like to get right to it. I don't like to wait before the game like, bro, 5 hours. I'm probably 30 minutes. We got to be there an hour, actually, so an hour before the game, we got to be in the facility.
At least when you out the car, put the uniform on.
Get on the field.
The uniform on in the car. He's got to put his helmet like
That Lamar Jackson set up. That's how I do. I play the little flag football. I just get there and then play. He in the whole NFL game and just show up to the arena ready to go. That's legit.
They got it in the locker room prepared for me. I need to get on that routine because he's been around for a long time.
That's why.
I love this because you see these small moments where these athletes and just successful people in general all start to learn things from each other. So in that moment, you could tell he was a bit embarrassed to be like, he get there hour before and LeBron got this whole 5 hour routine. But you can imagine that he'll start to implement some of that into his procedures.
Yeah, for sure.
So you pull up to the stadium an hour before the game.
I'm listening to 26 Cool. Listen to all these guys, Kodak Black, Shimmy, and stuff like that. I'm locked in already because I've been preparing
you already got
all
the game
week.
plan all for.
I've been preparing all week. I done studied, but lately, like.
That's what I was saying about the difference, right? When your man LeBron is like, I listen to Beethoven and stuff like that, right? Where you can see even earlier, when you really listen to that music, like he's like, yo, I'm listening to 26 Cool, Kodak Black, just going off these different names, you know what I'm saying? Where you just, I would listen to Beethoven and stuff like that.
Since I've been in the league, defense has been changing. Like, they don't play me how they play other quarterbacks and stuff.
They can't.
Yeah, so I got to get ready for a dog fight every game.
Yeah.
They going to play
Facts.
their best.
They're trying to keep your ass in the pocket.
For sure, for sure.
QB contained with a QB spy.
For sure. They're doing it all now.
Have you started thinking about changing shit like that up yet?
Yeah, this year, you know, it's my 5th year going to be in the league.
This is about to be your 5th year?
Yeah, it's going to be my 5th year.
Dang, so crazy to think about that.
My approach, my mindset, just a lot mature. I felt like I was a little immature, not in a bad way, but just like.
Yeah, you was young.
Younger.
Yeah, you're young, yeah.
Would you consider
It's so interesting to think about, like, a lot of these athletes who are multi-millionaires. Like, he done signed some big deals, and the ideal of, like, one of the things that I need to address is maturity, right? You would think that in most cases in the regular world, and I mean, obviously it's not something that's a blanket that works for everything. Money doesn't make you mature, but a lot of people who start to amass that type of wealth, especially when they got it out of the mud themselves, like, you know, that maturity would come with it or have already been there and all of that jazz. But it's so interesting to see a lot of these athletes, to think about that, 21, 22 years old, millions and millions of dollars, and it's like, you know what, I had to take my maturity up a level because I was on some bullshit. All right.
Consider your career a failure if you didn't win a Super Bowl?
Younger.
Let me go back.
Would you consider your career a failure if you didn't win a Super Bowl?
Nah. I wouldn't say I'm a failure because I knew where I was. You know, I know it was like many people in my family, you know, they had the opportunity, but they really didn't take advantage of it. A lot of my people was great football players, but they just, you know, our environment.
Got caught up in the hood.
Yeah,
Caught up.
Yeah, the hood. We know it. We know it very well.
Yeah, you know, bro, my favorite basketball.
That I want to go there right for a second, because I think that that's an important statement to make, right? He asked him, would you consider your career a failure if you don't win a championship? And I think part of this is because there was a moment in there where they talk about in a different clip or a part of this whole episode where he talks about wanting to win a championship because of a lot of stigmas that are around being a black quarterback, right? Especially historically, and they acknowledge that those things kind of have tapered off a bit, but somebody in his position where they didn't want him to be a quarterback, they were like, yo, could you do something else? And folks thought it wouldn't work, and he's been proving those people wrong. Like, having a championship would give him some sort of validation that, you know what, I am who I said I was type of vibe. But what I love about what he just said is the perspective, right? And I think Bron gets a bit into, not necessarily, but it's something, like I said, it's a through line. What he talks about the perspective of, I can't be a failure because I know how far I've came, right? That's something that even me and when it comes to sports, I used to be ashamed a bit, because I always grew up wanting to be a guy who played in the NFL, and that was the dream, and I was going there, and it was not until afterwards where I saw the success and the fact that I even just got to go play D1, right? I got to go play on TV. I got to be in the newspaper. I got to do that. Like, that's a success to a lot of people, right? Just even hitting that mark is a win. So for him, who's an MVP of the league and all of these things, for him to keep the perspective of, I can't be a failure because I know so many people who wanted to be where I'm at and didn't make it. So I'm successful. I've won. Now my career is already solidified as a W. You know what I mean? And I think that that's an amazing perspective. You take that even back further for me, and I remember I tell this story all the time of even why a lot of the content that we create today happens is because I would listen to people talk about Melo, Zello, and them, and be like, oh, he can't go to his prom in high school. He a failure, right? Oh, the UCLA thing didn't work out. You're a failure. Oh, you going overseas. Your dad started a league. You're a failure. And that didn't sit right with me. So I love that this athlete and this young man who just talked about needing to mature himself and taking this game to a next level already is baseline mature enough to keep that perspective of the blessings and the accomplishments that he has already had. One last thing too I'll say is even in that perspective is so important because they talk about pregame rituals. I remember I used to listen to like Disney music back in the day, right? So there was a point where once you start pouring so much into being an athlete or into one thing, your identity becomes around it. And then when you are not hitting those goals and hitting them accomplishments as fast as you want, things become a business, right? You start to see the is there light at that tunnel anymore? And then so one of the things that happened for me is I realized that I needed to get back into this place where I'm just playing this game to be fun, to have fun, and to enjoy it. And so I used to think about like, how do I get myself in that mind state, right? Where this is not life and death situation where if somebody catch a pass out here, I'm devastated because that's bad film for me. You know what I'm saying? Or loss of an opportunity or whatever. How do I get back into that state where it was just joy and I was playing this game? And so I used to listen to, like I said, I had a playlist of like Aladdin, Lion King, and all of that stuff. And literally even not even on game day sometimes, if I just was down, if you were riding in my car, we would be, you know what I'm saying, listening to Lion King. I'm talking about, I'm in there, all the dudes from Florida, dreadheads and everything, and they like, bro, play that, play that, not Kodak, he wasn't back there, but y'all know, Gucci, something, and I'm like, bro, we on the Lion King, and it's so interesting to even see those people in that moment really revert back to their like childhood instincts and sing along and enjoy it and all that stuff. But let's continue with this.
Player. Basketball. Yeah, for sure. That's why I wanted to be on the shop. I'm like, heck yeah, bro. Yeah, so.
That's the beauty of like this new version of you know what I'm saying, content creation and all of that stuff, where these athletes and these people of influence are bringing their other athlete friends and people of influence to talk to them and all of that stuff. And they be excited to do it because shit, we was fans and teammates and I love doing it. And it's cool for me because I like talking about it.
Anything specifically you want to take from him potentially as you grow?
Oh man, everything. And being a champion, like I feel like that's the one thing, you know, I want to take from, if anything else, you know, being a champion and being a billionaire, you know.
That billionaire.
That's what I've been thinking about ever since I was a little kid, being a billionaire and being a champion.
LeBron going from being a young...
And that's what I'm saying, right? If you think about, and I don't know where Lamar Jackson is from, but when I listened to him earlier talk about the perspective he had of how many people missed it and being in the hood and all of that stuff, and to really think that since I was a kid, I was focused on being a billionaire, right? And being a champion. And so when you get to a place where that no longer is an option, is not happening, like that's a reality check. You really got to sit with yourself and find yourself again and find a new purpose.
Young phenom to being a champion, what's like 2 or 3 of the biggest things you would tell him like to break through that?
No, he right there. I mean, at 25, 25 was my first year in Miami. You know, and we lost my first year. I was 25 years old. I think one of the first ones that I started to learn that you can't really give a fuck about what people say no more. Everybody gonna fucking critique everything that you do.
He dropped that F-bomb. I like it. Yeah.
That shit will creep into your mind, no matter if you believe it or not.
It's wasted energy.
Yeah, it's wasted energy. My first year in Miami, I was down there, like I was literally like, I wanted to prove everybody wrong. And I like literally lost myself in the moment. I lost myself.
Yep.
And I got all the way to the championship that year and lost. And the reason I knew afterwards, I was like, we lost because I wasn't.
You start playing.
I wasn't even there.
You start playing chess.
You take the whole blame for that?
Yeah.
All right, so I think even that part to me is so interesting, right? And earlier I was talking about these through lines in these conversations. So to me, I think that the way they started with this mental preparation and having music be able to help you control your emotions and your temperament and all of this stuff, and then for him to end the video on this ideal of not giving a F what people think, because you lose yourself in that, right? And the people start controlling you, right? So there's this thing that there's a technique where you're using the music and the emotions of these artists and things that you select to help control your thought process and who you were. When I said me, I used to listen to kids and music to make me kind of help get in that space of being a child. And he's saying that if you begin to listen to too much outside noise, it has a similar effect, but it's a negative effect, because then you start to react and doing things that outside noise is making you do per se. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that it's just so interesting when you see that, right? And I love this show and I love these conversations because I think as a former athlete, I really started to see the through line between like the mental state of being an athlete to the physical state, right? And how in both cases you got to have those things like hardwired, like locked down on both ends in order to really get some sense of success. I used to think about as I watched guys play, and I looked at dudes who I was on the who I played with and all of that, right? And I would look at the success that they had on the field, and I could point back to like, you know, how many people they had shown up to a game, you know what I mean? Like who were their parents? Were they coming to the game? You know what I mean? Was the brother, like all of these things oftentimes that where you have folks who were heavily supported, even if it was by people who don't have a lot of resources, but they just were there in helping you keep focused on that goal in hand. They typically ended up being a bit more successful, lasting a little bit longer, you know what I'm saying, working out a little bit extra, doing it because the kind of reason why you're doing it stay with them a little bit longer. So it's just interesting stuff, man. I love these conversations. So we're gonna do this a bit more on this channel, so stick with your boy. It's your main man AB the Hero. We out.
No, not peace, plus fun, triple beats, we out.